and share. Yeah, thank you. Just going to share the whole screen. Can I close this? All right. Did you get the link in Slack to the Notion page that we're going to use today? I think it's sometimes a bit easier if you have it on your computer, so you don't have to constantly look at the screen. I posted the wrong link in the beginning, so if you see a login page, then it's not working. Then try again. So this Notion page is sort of like an outline of what we're going to talk about today. And it can also help you, like, after the session, if you want to look up some information that we talked about. And for the first 10 minutes, I just want to do like a small recap of last week, which Anton, you gave. Yeah, don't worry, you don't have to say anything right now. The two main topics last week, from what I see, have been browsers and DOM. And I just want to ask you as the class, so how do you run JavaScript in the browser? Can somebody answer this question? Console, yeah, that's one way. That's a good way. Are there any other ways? Node.js, does it run in the browser? No. No, okay. So if you want to run JavaScript in the browser, is there another way to do it? Can you say it again? Yeah, JS-bin, yeah, you can use a service where you can try it out. There's also another option. Maybe someone can think about it. Like if you program a website, you're not going to use, your users are not going to use the console or the terminal. Like your users are going to have to visit the website and then it just has to work, right? How do you do it then? Sorry?
Open server panel.
Server panel? But what do you do in the server panel?
Download
Yeah. So think about how you structure your website. You have an HTML file, right? You have a CSS file, and what do you also have? A JavaScript file. Yeah, that's also an option, right? To embed your file into the page. That's the most common option. Then you have a script tag. You talked about this last week, right? Okay, cool. And yeah, we also touched on this, like what debugging tools do you have in the browser? So when your JavaScript is not doing what you want it to do, what tools do you have to look into it? Console log, yes, that's one of the tools you have. How do you see the console? Like, there was already a mention of that. Inspect element, yeah, you can open the developer tools, right? So that's a very, very important tool for you to, as a web developer, to look at what's going on with your page and your JavaScript. So what about the DOM? What is it for? Document Object Model is the name, but what do you actually use it for? To run queries? And what do you query for? Yeah. So elements on the page, right? Yes. So the DOM has all the elements that are on the page, and you can query them. And what else can you do with elements on the page? Sorry?
Delete or add?
Yeah, you can delete them, add them, manipulate them. Yes. And I think that answers the second question as well. So I know that some of you are behind on the homework, but I just wanted to reserve some time here now for the homework of last week. Has anybody had any questions about that? Maybe you haven't started with that one at all. I don't know.
Problem I have is that I could not figure out that how to do it when I applied for Elena's homework. So
Mm.
I was typing everything, like, typing is like whatever she did, it didn't work. But if I copy all the codes, it worked.
Okay,
So it's
that's a bit weird. Yeah. Okay. So let's remember this for later, or maybe the break, then we can talk about that specific issue. But I mean, in general, I just want to encourage you to ask questions all the time, like even during the session and also on Slack. And no stupid questions. That's a really important thing to keep in mind during the whole education here in Hack Your Future and other places, right? Okay, so any more questions about week 1 and what you've done there?
If you're saying only 2 people here have done this one.
2 people have done the homework.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm probably with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's good to know. We'll see if we can find some time in the end to talk about homeworks and what's blocking you.
Yeah.
You have a question?
I have a problem with it.
Okay.
Was accomplished.
Okay. I think we can fix that. So let's look at that also in the break or afterwards. Very good. So Anton, you told me that there was one thing last week that you hadn't talked about, and that was events. So are you interested in events? It's not this type of event where you go and have a party, but it's some. Sorry.
JavaScript file.
Yeah, it's JavaScript party, exactly. It's that type of event. So JavaScript has events and they happen in the browser. And they're basically external things that you want to synchronize with your website. So in the browser, it's mostly user interaction, right? So a user clicks on something, a user touches some button, something like that. So that's an event that happens. But it can also be other events, like your computer has a low battery. The browser might also know about that and trigger an event when that happens, so that your website can behave differently if the user has low battery, right? Maybe it can dim the brightness, something like that. And there are other operating system events that you can also listen for in different browsers. The way you use events is that you attach a listener. So you have an event and you have a listener. And in this listener, you can write whatever code you want. And whenever this event occurs, JavaScript is going to run your code that you specified in the listener. Does that make sense so far? We have events, we have listeners, and your code that you defined, and it's going to run every time the event triggers.
But this listener is something that you write in the.
Yes, yeah.
It's like a function.
It's a function, yeah. So your listener is a function that you can attach to the event, or you can detach it from the event. And so we have some common events here in this list. And my idea is that you would go to this this website. It's the event reference on Mozilla Developer Network, and it has a bunch of different event types here. It also has like a small explanation on what events are, but I mostly covered that, I think. But in case you want to read it up. And then we would go to our first exercise. I don't know if we are able to do this. Can we do groups of 5 people? That's probably not going to work that well. So maybe we can just do... Yeah. Or maybe groups of 4. Yeah, 3 groups of 4. So you're going to work together for 15 minutes. The idea is that you take, like, I have listed 5 different event categories. It's like some mouse events, some touch events, some drag events, some key events, and then some like input events, like general input event types. And so the idea is that every one of you takes one of these groups and then looks up the documentation that is linked when you click on it. And then you try to find out as much as you can about this event and how it works and what it does. And then you're going to explain it to the rest of your group after, I said 8 minutes. We'll see if that's enough. So first everyone is going to pick one of these. And I mean, ideally, not all of your group would pick the same one. Otherwise, you can't explain to each other. And then you're going to explain to each other. Does that make sense? Okay, if you need some coffee, you can still get it. Or we can open the window. No, but it's fine. I mean, that's perfectly normal in the start. I've been talking a lot, so that makes sense. So it's good to get to the first exercise. You all have the Notion page open and you can access the links. So I'm going to set a timer for 8 minutes now, and we'll see how far you've gone with your own research. So remember that you're a group now also, so coordinate whatever you're looking into.
Sorry, one topic per person or one topic per group? And then-
Then you're going to update the other ones in your group. Then make sure you have and don't worry if you don't manage to cover all of the five. It takes you only 4 it's fine if you go on. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. 1, 2.
You didn't go to Scannerboy yet, no? You didn't go to Scannerboy, you came directly, right?
No, I was going
Oh, okay. That's yesterday.
Friday.
Oh, okay. Weekend. Weekend getaway.
Yeah, my best issue.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
And about Wahab, he's alone from home.
He's in Germany this week with his family. So, yeah, my friend lives in the countryside.
Oh. Like a house?
He lives in a house.
Wow. Yeah, I need a puppy in my life for sure.
So I feel on this.
How puppy are we talking?
3 months.
Okay, that's fine.
She's so she needs a lot of entertainment.
Yeah. It's like having a baby.
Mhm.
Okay, so I was going to have like 2 minutes for each person to explain to the group whatever you learned. Like, don't worry if you haven't read all of it. So let's do that. Is that okay? Cool.
So we explained it.
Now you explain to each other like one by one whatever you learned. No, just in your group.
Are activated. Back value to the form, something bracket you can not work, which we use for implementing content like such parts or going to use that, right? So, that's the moment. No, it's the table also.
Yeah, it's like this big one.
Press, they do what, but sometimes you have to make it up. Okay. That's what you want. Yeah, yeah, you press, but not what. That's what yeah. Only the top was.
Enough. Okay, so the time is running out. Are you done explaining? So even if you haven't finished, I think it's fine because we're gonna use your knowledge now for another exercise. Where you can play around with some events. There's no setup needed. I created this code pen that you can simply edit. So you don't have to handle any files or anything. Have you ever used CodePen before? Okay, cool. So in the JavaScript section, I noted some to-dos, and those are basically the tasks that that you can look at. So as you can see, we have some HTML here, that we have a button. It says click me, and we have a change background button. We have a revert link and a revert and don't navigate link. And then we also have some JavaScript here, which is like, it looks like something with events. So I'm not gonna make any spoilers. And also the page doesn't really do what it says. So it's kind of broken. And then when I click this one, I actually go to like this domain. So that's not really what we want. Okay, now it's telling me this. So the first task is to have the first button do something else. So you have to change the code that's here and adapt it so that it makes the first button change its text to clicked. And then the second task is to have the second button change the background color, which now the first button does. Yes, on click, both of them. And then I have some more tasks here if you have more time, but let's start with those two. And then we're going to check in a couple of minutes how far you've gotten. Any questions so far? Okay, cool.
That's cool. The issues so far. Yeah. Or it was because. Yes. Okay. Cool. No idea. No idea. Use this curious enough that buttons so so that's why the event is attached to this. As you do when attention to the set of technology, it has to be done. So right now you can see there's no button style anymore. Now it's the button again. You can really, yeah, using the main yeah, and then I will get to this. So have you built up a different syntax? Now we use the standard model, which allows you to know if you want to talk about the time. So I just have to do it. So this says how styles for ideas. Like for class, you use a class square. Have to be inside This sounds pretty, but it's.
And then what? Oh, yeah. Set it into the car, and I heard like chatted all over them. So I left it on the radiator to go.
The essence of the. How does the first one work? What do you kind of make it? Does the movie can- Look at the original and well, I was doing plan about this, but the one that it's sent out. We are at you see the difference? This is our sort of one that we did. It will move to the and find the you want to ideally are using the same one and you get to use the same and it's the same I was using and then you have to this is applications finding. Let's say how to select by it's in the first line example. So you put one click on it doesn't have to correspond to anything. This is an event built into but even if you change the name to something else, because it's the name of the event. And here you target the button if you want to the gesture is to use so what if you put select you using here? So you target the button. It's such the same event. Okay, cool.
All right, how's the status, everyone? Who's finished with task number 1? 2, 3. Okay. So should we talk about how to solve it? Yes? Okay. Anyone wants to volunteer a solution? Like, I can already tell you there are multiple ways to do it. So there's not one right way. But how do I make this button change the background color? Can anyone explain it? So your suggestion is to change the styling of the background when the event happens, right? Yeah, that's what we want to do. But right now the first button does that, right? But how do we make the second button do the same thing? So we have two different things here, right? We have query selector and we have add event listener. So can anyone explain to me what query selector does?
Find the elements inside the HTML folder.
It finds an element in the HTML, and which element is it going to find if we say query selector button?
First button, we find the button click.
It's going to find the very first button in the page. So why is it that the first button changed the background color?
What is
Because it's you can query select the button and you have first button is.
Yes, correct. So what do we need to change for this? So
select?
query selector button returns the first button on the page, which is the click me button, right? Can you follow so far? And then we attach an event listener for a click event to this button. And then when we click this button, we're going to set the body style background color to red. So I click this button and the page becomes red. But how do I now change it so that the second button does the same thing?
We should make two.
There are several suggestions. We can give it an ID, yes. Are there any other options? We can use an attribute selector, yes. How does that work? How do you use an attribute?
Side is where brackets name equal and what you click on the background. Yeah. Without brackets, without well, yeah.
Okay, and how do I know this syntax? Like, how do I know how this works?
It's from the HTML CSS.
It's from CSS, exactly. So if I was going to have the button have a blue background color, could I do it like this? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay, let's try. Okay. So now I've done a mistake because I've selected the button with the name click, so I have to change this, right? Does that make sense? So what we see here is the name, is the value of the name attribute here. And what if I want to use an ID instead? How do I do that?
Just add ID.
Here?
Yeah.
And what do I change here then?
Get element by ID instead of query select.
Yes, it's just like words and then dash.
But how can I still use query selector to do it? Is there a way to do that? The hashtag? Yeah, so I can use hashtag change background. Let's see, it has to reload. Yeah, and it works. And I can also do this, right? Also works. Oh, somebody is in the waiting room. Is that supposed to be like that, Lenny?
I think we just try that.
Okay.
Maybe some.
Okay, so that solved the first task, right? So now how do we start on having the second button have a function, like have some interactivity?
Let's say document
Can you,
Selector, we need to assign ID or something.
okay, document query selector, but do we really have to assign an ID to the button? Yeah. So why does this work?
Because query selector.
It takes the first button.
All, we can move it down query selector all, and then we get the array from the all selector and the all element.
You mean this?
Mhm.
Does everyone know what the difference is between query selector and query selector all?
It's that's first element only, and the other one gets all of the.
So which one gets the first element only?
Query selector. Query selector.
Yes. And this one, what does it do? What does it return?
Array.
An array, okay. So how do I get the first one from the array of all the buttons?
Brackets will be 0,
Which kind of brackets do I need to use?
square brackets,
Like this?
yeah, 0,
And why is it 0?
because the array starts with index.
Okay. So let's try this. And what do I have to do next?
Everyone listen.
Is that clear to everyone that if I want to attach an event, I call the function add event listener on the element? Does that make sense? Okay, add event listener. And so what event do I listen to? Correct? So this is the first parameter. And now I want to define the function that's going to be executed when the event triggers. So that's 100% correct. Shouldn't misspell it. So now I have a function that triggers when the first button is clicked. So now I want to change. So what's in the task? The first button should change its text to clicked. Sorry, I mixed up the order of the exercises. Hope you didn't get confused about that. So this is actually the first exercise. You were going to change the text on the button. So how do I change text on a button? Text content, okay. What, like inner HTML? There are many options, but how do I start? Like, how do I get the button now and change properties on the button?
Yeah.
Document get element by ID, but our button doesn't have an ID, so that doesn't really make sense.
Query selector.
Okay, so this is one way, but you said we already have it. Like, where do we have it?
Because document query selector button is 0 in the, yeah, it's already first button.
Okay, but how do I get it? Like within this function? Like, how do I?
The event target. And
Okay.
it's event in the parameter.
Yeah, so something is missing here, right? It's going to get an event as the parameter, this function. And that's always like that. If you have an event listener and you attach a function, it's always going to have the event as the first parameter. So if you write your function, make sure to have event in your function definition, right? So instead of doing this, document query select a button and to like go through the DOM again and get the button, we can just say event.target, as you said. And so what do we want to do now? We want to
Change the text inside the button.
yes. How do we change the text in the button? In HTML, okay. Sorry if I'm repeating a lot. Just making sure everyone gets it. Clicked. So let's see if that works. Maybe remove this background color. Ta-da, it worked. All right, so we have another exercise, and we also have more exercises in this code pen. So I think that you should maybe try the third exercise at home, because we're kind of running out of time. But if you want, we can have a couple more minutes for those two last exercises. You can look into them and then we go over the solution for them. Or would you rather take a break now? What's your mood? To continue, who wants to continue this exercise? Couple of hands. Who needs a break right now? No hands. Okay, so we're gonna continue now. So it's the third one where you want to have the revert link, this one, revert the background color to not being red, right? And then this link also should do something differently, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's give it 5 minutes and see how far we can get. It's a bit strange. Okay, so how far have you gone? You have a question?
Same thing, but then one doesn't work.
Okay, so you did what? Close some terminals. How do I remove this?
There's something,
Yeah,
where's the minute, there's like minimize, or you can just drag it down.
this is so annoying about Zoom.
I don't remember, there's something.
Yeah. Okay, so you did this one? So what is it that doesn't work for you?
Doesn't change the field.
It doesn't change to clicked.
Can you check the font size? Mhm.
So, could, Julia, could you explain, have you figured out why it doesn't work?
It started with a code and then
Okay,
there was a small dot.
so like you had written some text here. Yeah, yeah. So
You have to comment it out, otherwise.
exactly. So if you use the comments slashes, then you can write text here. So before we take a quick break, I want to go over the exercise 3 in this code pen. Any ideas on how to do this? Like, how how do I revert the background color if this link is being clicked?
Implement the revert, it means we need to change it backwards.
Yeah, this is one interpretation of it. Do you have a solution for it?
Yes, we would give it ID, HTML.
So this one you want to have an ID.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to select it by ID.
So how do I do that? Documents.
Query selection.
Okay. Hashtag
No. Yeah,
like this.
yeah, you need to square bracket ID equals.
Okay, so what is the difference between this one and this one?
Yeah.
There's no difference, right? It's just a different way of writing the selector. Okay. So what do I do next when I have queried the ID? Okay, that's familiar now. So what type of event are we listening for? Yes. And function, okay. And what do we do now? So why should I console log the event?
So it shows you.
Okay, fair enough. But I don't have the console open, so I won't see the event, right?
Open console in the program.
Okay. Is there a code pen console?
If you move your, yeah, so it's
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, so now I'm gonna click this. Okay, that's actually a bit bad because I added the console log event and I click on revert and it console logs the event, but this CodePen console is just showing an object that says is trusted true, so it's not really the event that I get. So if I open my browser console, I can see the full event here that I got. And as we talked about before, you can actually see here that this event has a property called target. It's a bit small, right? I'll make it a bit larger. So this is the one that we've been using here, where we changed the background color. No, sorry, where we changed the title. So every event has a target attribute where we can see what element on the page has been interacted with, like which has triggered the event. Does that make sense? No, no, okay. So if I click on this button, then, and I have an event listener attached that runs a function, then this function will always get the event, right? And on this event, we'll always have this target property. And so the target property is always going to lead you to the element on the page that has triggered the event. So in this case, the event.target is going to be the button, because this is the element that we attached the event to, and it triggered the event. Does that make more sense now? Slightly. Still a bit hard to grasp. So how do I explain it?
Target is where the pointer like showing one.
Yes, exactly.
And
Okay, maybe I can show you a more complex example. Maybe we have a div area and we have,
if you're writing events dot target, so this event has to be exactly with this target.
If I write event or target, it's always going to be the
Before even dot target dot them change completely. So it says that even working with target, we need to change target.
exactly, yes.
So we need to change the background. It has to be like even target dot background and our.
But it's body should change the background, not the target body.
Yeah. Okay, so let's skip the example and let's try this. So what you're saying is if I have the event.target and I change its style dot background color.
Change target background.
So let's say the initial is white.
Yeah.
So I change the background color. Now I click the revert button.
And the target's color was changed background.
So can anyone explain why it changes the?
Targets, it's happened from the link, so link change background color, not body.
Does that make sense to everyone? Like, why did the link change the background color when I say event.target style
It's
background color?
target.
Yeah.
Because the link is the target of my event. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I change this to change the page's background color?
Body background.
How can I access the body?
But we have to take it from the HTML, so document first, selecting body,
Document, query selector,
and sign it in the variable.
body. Like this.
Mhm.
And it works. You can actually do this a bit shorter because you don't have to query for body. You can just it has a predefined property like on the document. This doesn't work for any other element. It's just the body. Okay, so we solved this task as well. And maybe let's go into the last example as well. So this is a link. It's like a proper link. It has a target of example.org. Target not in a sense of event target, but sense of link target, right? So if I click this link, it actually navigates me to this domain, which is not what I want. So how do you have any idea how I can manipulate this link to not navigate to this URL? Have you heard about this before? Change? Yeah, I could remove this link and then it wouldn't be a link anymore. That's true. That's one solution. But I can also do something. Let's first we're gonna write the let's make this a bit bigger. So first let's write the selector, right? So I don't want to change anything about this, so I'm just going to use this attribute here now. Can I do that? What do you think? Maybe? It's not going to show because it's still going to navigate to the page, right? So we'll only see later. So there's one thing on the event that we can do. Let's take this other button again, and I'm going to open the console again. So if I click this button, I have this event here. And the event has a lot of properties and also has some functions, some methods, they are called. So they're all documented on Mozilla Developer Network, so you can look them up. You don't have to browse through this event object, but you can, of course. And one of these methods on the event is prevent default. So what do you think that this does when I call this on the event? It's not gonna load the page? Like what?
Gonna work.
As a name.
Exactly, it's going to prevent the default behavior of the element. And now, as I see from this warning sign, I have some error in my code apparently. Let's see. Okay, now it disappeared. let's see what it does now. Okay, it still navigates to the page.
So the growth is the-
Select, it's not a valid selector. Okay, so I can't actually do this. But let's see if I can do this maybe. Okay, and so now I don't navigate. I added these single quotes because then it doesn't get upset about the colon and slashes and stuff like that, right? So now if I add an alert here to say default prevented, I get this alert, right? And it doesn't navigate to the page. Of course, it's quite rare that you want this behavior because usually you would want a link to work as a link, right? But sometimes in your application, you might need this. If you're submitting a form and you want to handle it with JavaScript, you might want to prevent the default behavior of an event. So it's good to know. And I think this is all the exercises about events that we're going to do today. So let's take a short break now, and then we're going to, you have one question, yes?
Yeah, we have a lot of ways how to get to
Select an element?
yeah, but how do you access your work by ID?
That's a good question. I guess it depends. So what is special about an ID in your document? You can only have one on the page. So IDs are kind of limited when you want to use them as selectors. And if you use, for example, classes or tag names, it's going to break your JavaScript when you change your CSS, right? Like, let's say you want to, let's say you're using a class as a selector and you change the name in your CSS and your HTML because you want to like have a class called blue and you change it to red, right? Then your JavaScript breaks. So what people do is they sometimes use the data attributes. So something like this. So you can add as many data attributes as you want, and you can freely define what the name of the data attribute is. So in this case, I said like, let's call it data action, and let's call the value revert. So then I would write data action equals revert as the selector. And the advantage is that I can have multiple of these, right? But we'll get to that when we talk about arrays, because now if I say document query selector all, and I say add event listener, it's not going to work, unfortunately. You see, so there's some mystery in that. How do you assign an event listener to a list of elements? We may be getting to that when we talk about, and Alina talks about arrays. If there are no more questions, then we're going to take a short break now, I think. And then, yeah, but I think we should have like at least a 5-minute break, and then maybe we can have an introduction to arrays and then lunch. What do you think? Okay, so see you in 5 minutes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's like this, like, I think it was one
Yeah. Like, oh, when I was wondering, like, she got them before that, like.
Yeah, I don't know that one. But you can add it.
Yeah. I saw it all of them. Same function, so we use one together.
So you have two functions that do the very same.
Yeah,
thing. And your question is like for this now, you pick the one function.
yeah.
So, have you tried?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just rename it like more. And then do both items.
Actually, what if you do one and you put it in? Yeah. In the second one, have you tried?
Change the.
Yes. What if you replace the function here with the other function?
First one will replace for the second one.
It's the work now. Not necessarily. Yeah, so you have, so I know one of this is interesting how you want it to work. And then
Why?
so you have this one string.
Yeah, because
What is it do?
the F even this is just one, and then to the.
But that means if you don't enter a name, or like, if you click it, then you can enter a name, which is then gonna run again.
Yeah. No?
Can you try?
So just, should I change the name?
Try reloading it. Now you click get the name. So
And.
now you get this message, right? Everything works so
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
Now you specify a name. And you say get the name. How does it work out?
No.
Because it's already fired. Yeah. So that's not really how it is. So that's not it's, I don't know what the exercise is that. Could you do it like that? Because now basically both buttons are the same, right? Yeah.
But it's.
Which might be fine, you know, this is
Yeah, but it's not.
not what they wanted. But I'm not
and then I have to create the group and this version of another button I got and replaced the new.
But it doesn't say anything about that. You couldn't do it again.
The name color is.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I guess you could get away with just one button.
Okay, so.
But this is fine.
So.
So to answer your first question, it's totally fine to reuse. Yeah.
So we know we have listened. Now it's like I'm trying to, yeah, I make sure that I have the best one for this one.
Ну, зараз же скопировала. Оно не работает. Там не было да, оно не а я не знаю, как его даже я себе набрала. А вот это нам надо
А ты перед тем, как делать видео, ты возьми один клон, где ты скопируй видео, которые я уже сделала, и туда появится хедер, а потом
Yeah, that's why, that's
You want to take over? You want to use your own machine?
But every that is
Okay.
so if I click something, it works.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm wondering.
Yes, I work at Linux.
Yeah, I think you'll manage.
Somebody asked me at work, like, do I know Linux or Mac? I was like, Linux.
Yeah,
It's not even like click. Yes, yeah.
So is everyone back from the break? Let's do another 12 minutes of a race, and then we'll have
and we'll have lunch.
Yes.
So, previously we've already covered like arrays basics, so we know, you know, what arrays are. Eh,
What about you, Marek, and you finished the lesson?
So you guys already know what arrays are, and good news is you're going to work with arrays all your time, mostly. And today we're going to cover some array methods, and these are tools that help you to manipulate arrays. So to perform some actions with arrays and to, yeah, just to manipulate them. There are many different array methods, and we are not going to cover them all because I guess nobody knows all the array methods. But if you are curious, you can always check out. Yes, I managed to click something on Mac. So you can actually go to this page and MDN documentation and just check out some array methods. So if you want to like know what, I don't know, find array, find method is, you just go there and check it out. I also found a good cheat sheet, guys, for you. I guess if I just go here, it's
Very small.
yes,
Okay.
here. So this cheat sheet helps you to like kind of find the right array method you will need. It is divided into different sections. Creates new array, that's basically methods that return a new array with something inside of it. What it is defined here, so you can like map, filter. We are going to talk about it later. And then there is another group that methods that edit current array. So they do not return a new array, but instead they do something on the current array. And yeah. And another group is searches in current array. Well, it's kind of, yeah, search something in the array. And here you have like a small legend, so you can see what type of methods accept what. So it can be either like a function, or it can be a value, it can be something. And yeah, you can just check it out here. So it might help you a lot, because you cannot always like remember what, okay, I should do this and this, what type, like what method I should use. You can just check it out and kind of use as reference.
So these circles and the square and
These are
the
items.
triangle, so they are items in
Yes.
the array, right? That makes sense to everyone?
Yep. How to close it? I'm really bad with it. Sorry. No. Yeah, here. So today we are going to cover 4 most commonly used methods, and we are going to start with map. If you are interested to like read about it more, you can just click on the name of the method, and it refers you to MDN documentation. But we are just gonna look at it in the action. Since we are not doing anything like in DOM, we are just gonna use console. Yeah, I'm really bad with pressing like I don't know why.
There's also a setting because some people prefer it to be silent, but I prefer it to be.
Yeah. So, okay, let's take a look at the array here. So we have an array of objects. It's called cars. So each item in the array represents some data about the car. For example, we have like Volvo, which has a speed of 45 kilometers. Okay, color light yellow. And let's use this array and let's transform this array to an array of car colors. So for this, we are going to use a method map, which basically, you can read it here if you forget. It creates a new array populated with the results of a function provided inside of the method. Does it make sense? So basically, before that, you would use like for let I equal 0, I less than length of an array, I plus plus, and then you would.
I don't know if you've ever seen this before.
Yes.
For loop.
Yes, for loop. You would usually use like a for loop, which is like quite big. You're not going to use it anymore, hopefully. So what map does, it just performs, it returns an array with the results of a function, and the function is executed to each item on the array. So let's take a look at the code pan here. To make it more like, sorry, to make it more like visual, I created a const car colors, which is gonna save the new array produced by the method. So we take cars array and apply map method to it. So we basically loop through the array. We take each item and we are returning car color. Does it make sense? The whole process. So we are returning car color, and the color is stored in a new array produced by the method. So if we console log the result, it's just so funky, this console. Okay, we should check the first one out. So that's gonna check. It says light yellow, light blue, and light cyan, whatever it means. And yeah, if you look at the color cars array in the color in the color and its value, and yes, we have light yellow, light blue, light cyan. Does it make sense?
Yeah, this function color means why you use it.
Let's say we just need an array of colors. We just need colors. We don't need all this data. No like no label, nothing. We just need colors.
So you're simplifying the array
Yes.
from objects to just one property.
Yeah. So if we just want to get the color of every item on the array.
Or speed.
Yeah, like whatever. You can basically with map method, you can do basically anything. You can perform actions like different. It does whatever you define in the function, but it does it to every item in the array, and it returns a new array with the result of the whole process. Make sense? No? Yes. Okay. And here we have another example. As you mentioned, for example, we want to get car speeds. So we also take array of cars and we apply map method. So we basically loop through the array again, and now we are looking only for speed value. So as a result, we get a new array where we only have speed values. Yes, no? Okay. Nice. Do we have time? Yeah, we have 2 minutes for each. Okay.
I don't know how it's done.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So that's how.
So you'll know that later.
Okay. So we're gonna have lunch now.
It's up to you. It doesn't matter, it doesn't get over.
Doesn't, yeah, for each is not gonna take 2 minutes. Or do you want to cover for each, which is like quite similar, but not exactly to this method?
Yeah.
Or you wanna have, okay, for each. That's something many people actually confuse map with when they first start learning JavaScript. For each also iterates through the whole array, but in fact it doesn't return anything. It only performs an action, but never returns anything. Let's look at it.
So why do you use it?
Well, use case for it is side effect. No, it's more of a side effect. I don't know how to explain.
So let's imagine you have an array of elements from the DOM, like we just had with our reverse link. So how do you attach an event listener to each of those elements? For each?
For yes.
So you call the function for each element in the array, for each link that we
Yeah.
selected, and then you attach an event listener to this element.
And it performs the action, and it just doesn't return anything because there is like no result. The result is that there is an action performed to each item in the array.
So you cannot reassign the result of this function in the value.
Let's see.
No?
Let's see how it works. So same array, same everything, different method. So let's say there is a spoiler. Yeah. So let's say we want to return car color using for each, but we actually want to store this in a variable. So we do exactly the same thing. We create a const car colors for each, cars for each, and then we have this function. We want it to return a car color. But as I said, it's going to be undefined. Because it returned, it actually did something, but it didn't store it because it returns nothing. I just said return, it returned, but it never stored the result anywhere. We didn't console log things, so it just did something, but it's undefined because it's only like, this method is only used for like actions and side effects.
It's instead of for loop.
Yes. But if we, for example, not sure if you console log it, then it's gonna like perform this action. But again, it's not gonna store anything inside of this variable.
I don't understand, why is important to it?
Well, Thomas gave a good example of use case for it. So when we, for example, have an array of elements and we want to perform some action, we can use for each. But if we are actually working with some data we want to process, it's probably not the best option to use for each, because unless we do something to the function, it's not gonna return anything. There is a way to fix it though. Console log like car colors. Colors can work. Yes. So here we applied console log, so we actually kind of made an action, something visual. So it console logged all the colors. It tried like returning it. It actually returned it, but it never stores it anywhere. So we only get the console logs in our console. But with for each, there is one interesting thing that we actually kind of can make it do something and store it somewhere. For example, we can create an empty array of colors. And then try to store colors in the array using for each method. Then we would need to like loop through the array, and for every item, like we need to push every item to a new array that we created. So with for each, we actually have to make the method store results somewhere. While with map, it creates a new array for you and it stores the result. Does it make sense? Yes.
So for each doesn't say our values, right?
No, it only performs an action.
And
It can store something somewhere only if you make it to this.
Maybe if you show the sheet again.
Yes.
what if we put it into the variable for each variable equals for each one?
You mean if you don't create a variable?
So I think what you need is that you assign a new value to car.
Do you how to?
Yeah, so
Ah,
it's a different
I'm really
layout.
bad. Really, I'm really bad with it. Gosh, it's just
Try see, so
so
Yeah.
bad with it. Do you have like
try
German
this,
keyboard?
switch Y and see. Try it.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. Like, do you
No.
have German keyboard?
Yes.
Oh gosh. I have it at home. It's horrible.
It's not what is printed in the piece.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of figured it out. Yeah. So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Can we use like for each the same way like in math? Because as I understood, math says something, right?
Yes, it creates a new array that stores results of a function provided inside of the method.
And for each, it's just log out.
For each just performs an action. So to make for each store data somewhere, you have to make it do it.
So it's basically a convenience thing about map, that if you return something from your function that you pass to map, it will then assign that as the return value of that function. If you do the same in for each, you can return whatever you want from your function that you pass to for each, but it's not gonna exist anymore. So you don't have to return anything from for each. You just run some code that does something else. But if you want to manipulate, transform your array, you can use map to return something. So this is also a common mistake, that you have a function passed to map, but you don't return anything. And if you don't return anything, your array will not be conformed. It will stay the same, or it will be undefined.
So for each, it's not necessary to write it down in return.
Yes.
Anyway, we have return.
Yeah, you can just perform an action, and yeah, because if you return, it's like as we tried saving it to like variable, yes, and it's undefined because it's always undefined. So it only performs an action.
So whatever you return from the function passed to for each, it's going to disappear.
So like when working with arrays of data, you are most likely to use map to perform some action to an array. So it's quite rare you would use for each. Most, I don't know, it depends on the use case. Yeah, the foot is here. Does it make sense so far? Yes, no.
Not so much.
But what is the difference between the map or for each in this picture?
In this picture, it says with map, it says creates new array. So it creates a new array. It performs something here. Like there is a function inside of the method. And it stores a new array, which it like this picture is not really good with like for each. But here the difference is that it creates a new array and it stores data like inside of it.
So I think what they want to say here with saying edits current array and then for each and has all the squares.
Yeah.
Is that you can actually overwrite the value like you suggested in the beginning. You could say car equals blue.
Yeah.
And then I'm not 100% sure about that. We can.
It's
try
gonna assign the value to the blue to every item.
Yeah. So now I don't have cars in my array anymore, but I have the new value that I set.
But it's really rare you would have to actually do something with initial array. No, you shouldn't do
It's
it.
very confusing. You use like maybe later in your code, you have some other code that uses the out array. And then suddenly you don't have cars in your array, but colors.
That's not really good.
Yeah,
So don't,
and it leads to confusing.
yeah,
Confusion. So I'm a bit skeptical why they say that it's current array, because this is not really a use case. You should
yeah.
use in for each. The other ones make sense, push, pop, shift, sort. and-
Yeah, most of them actually make sense,
Yeah.
but for
which
each,
is a bit of a special.
yes,
You only use it to like perform an action on every item. in the array.
yeah.
I have a question. Does it mean for each what's like a for?
It's a bit
Yes.
like a form.
And map is actually for loop. So yeah, well, it is.
I would
It's
say for each is more.
more like a for loop, yeah.
Because it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't do anything else.
It only iterates through items on the array. Yeah,
And
while
keeps the function.
map actually it also iterates through every item in the array, but it also creates a new array and it stores data. So it's a little bit different. Yeah. Mercedes looks so confused.
Okay, but it's like I need to do.
Yeah, we are gonna have exercises, yeah. So you're gonna have like use case actually for each of these methods. Yeah, so let's have lunch, guys.
Yes.
Yes, it's all right.
Okay, it should say on them, it should say, some of them it says what it is, it's not, it's just the price. Or let's do vegetarian, but.
Something else today. Usually we have the two and see what's that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's really they are different.
Did you get a good time?
Yeah.
We just didn't know what it is. I already. Do we have any? No, I don't think so. As long as I mean, I prefer, yeah, it's not. No, just trying to not skip any students.
I don't know. Do you have this?
It's like a chili because. An actual labor.
If I go paste it here. How can I do that?
Yes, William Lamb. William Lamb. So. That's.
Wow. 10 seconds.
Depends on how.
Like,
big the
it's-
chili-
what's the
This kind of not.
And you push this forward.
Ah.
no branch.
Now.
Yeah.
But.
Maybe things.
Maybe I'll send you to the discussion.
No, I have a better paper.
You got one?
Ja.
Only this is all. Listen, and then, sorry, you must like that. Ja, ja, oké. Ja, nou, maar ik heb hier. Voor de boel. Ja. No, de boel bouwsten. En blank. Dus we hebben So you're mostly into the application.
Thank you very much. I was a good.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
You don't know like in
Talked about it a bit.
Like,
Don't be mentors, man.
but in India they have like sometimes it's just like a
Yeah, some interesting.
People like-
How hard it can be to make it small.
Yeah. Right now, I'm more just say.
Oh.
So you sent me the. This is like. Yeah, yeah. Any older.
Yeah, so there's also a bit difficult sometimes because people have questions about big companies. Or this makes sense selling group. Now, this version has something French board name, but it's also found this right. And this red version has all but what she does. She wants to get within that. She's already don't have this law. Because I think on both of these sides, we decide whether we can buy it. And then afterwards, when they say if the homework is used against Spanish, we can buy it.
Really.
Yeah.
But it's like.
They did bridges. I want to remote it. And then it's next week. See that code change on stage, just a second, snapshot. The navigator sometimes the main code change. And what you do is you add on top of here, so it will be one. Okay. And then you want to add the most, they fill them. They're not doing a thing, that's what we did. That's the homework. What we do to do that. Actually, got a system you commit to create the mind first. And you have what it's like, then.
Go to buy like.
Now we change it.
finally bread and then salad. That was sort of like a buffet.
It's okay.
But I guess it's like double that amount. You're ready to like.
Yeah, I don't know about why, like. But energy reservoir net on fine. This word here. Never told you. But you got.
It's like, yeah, but like, that's it. It's a lot of times to hire.
What about that? I'm sure that's. This report.
That's like how much there is.
Your name, the branch. So you say.
Yeah. The rest of us on your face. It's like, well, like, we think that it's like, you know, just my favorite is like, community meetings. But that's never like best meeting. How God for this now. Well, so you're a bit like, yeah, what is my? But it's legal, and that will take.
I'm not. Like the box. If you're, have kids on it, well, it's happening, you know, like it's not, for example, or the nuts, you know,
That's right.
and now, English, beautiful, but then then I saw these guys, and we were from the update, so good, and then I know them, stuff which having one step before we agree with that place, and once you get some discount, I can't have. Now I just automatically, you know, every something. All the tabs were removed, and they were one more time. You're not what's the main thing.
I mean, it's like how God, like,
So.
like pretty good, but it's like, there isn't a lot of.
Which.
thought.
No, it's not like that. They run the.
And the shows there are in town, but it's like really expensive areas, so like. More.
Quickly, that's all.
Yeah.
This, you know, how they create that. And then when some of the. You can let them know, special, and then afterwards, the needs to change the video. You need to learn what we want to do. Create.
The same with them, I mean,
House to
houses, you
Yeah. Actually, it's. Yeah.
This WordPress.
Get hot water.
Yes, I was the.
You're calling the name, Christian, so it's, yeah. Okay.
And then it works fine for phones or.
So you comment on it. And saying. There's no.
Then I inspect.
Yeah. No. Or, for example, obviously, because of this, so today, That's just. And then. Yes. Yeah. No, it's not maybe it's good. So what about
Try it. It's not like American, but so you can use. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about learn the like when I was in Korea. And he was like, why not? So I was like, I'm so bored.
French.
No, I mean, before, like,
Yeah, no, because kind of sometimes
yeah.
Because when you're really
Like, by ladies, along. And like, the alarm was wrong, and it was triggered, like, you train confident. Spell tears.
That's fine, but it's like. And then what you did also is that you. And what you did. Yeah. Now I understand what you're doing, especially that. If we have.
You did it in your like, migrate.
That's because then you had to have routine in your branch. And you did not think that she.
I wouldn't mind them.
But the screen.
Yeah, that's why I like. That's what it's not like
And this is the only.
it's black.
So there's two homes, it's very stuff locally. To switch out.
But
Okay, so I feel like, and I don't say that, do the change really nice, do the cooking like this.
Yeah.
And it's really work, that's it, let's try. So I can understand that was.
Just like some edge.
Yes.
It's just that every time the weather.
Yeah. but when you look at the beach and there's enough big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the, yeah.
I go to the beach this Washington, so this was in the island, nobody is in. But the weather is still. Usually. I mean, you can go to the water, you can have a picnic, or you can dip your toes in.
Both are hanging out with.
Yeah. You see this change? Yeah, that's right. Now. I don't think we'll get a lot of time.
But I think that's the first year I've done it. Yes, and I think it's because it's sort of.
You want to commit on it?
You can also do it when the weather is not good, like a day or two, but like wait for it, I can't do anything.
Yes. Yeah, but which direction you want to go?
I feel like how it's done. So great. Yeah, I also need a friend.
But you only have one. Yeah. Which is me. That's great. You have to create a branch.
Okay, it's another day.
We didn't pass the recording, no.
We're gonna get some. We're gonna get some lunchtime action. Yeah.
But I'm so
People-
afraid of forgetting to.
No, yeah. It's better this way than forgetting. For sure. We're on a lunch break.
Do the change, you go to the more. One.
Just speak to one here.
Actually, I don't know if it's good, it's down. Have the sticker competition stickers? Have they been? Yeah.
I really have, but.
But they're not.
Right.
If I was trying to get the food, Chris is coming.
Yeah, true.
That was the older. That's the one. That means you have to put those on there on 2 weeks and you're close ready to be made it empty. No, I did, yeah. But I would recommend getting it there too. Yeah. If you want to live out like yours, I don't feel like you're very. Yeah. Maybe we should get a small hectare each.
Wait for mine.
This is the text. And then we can on it and then to press to save it. How it's going, but get it. Anything? Yeah. I love it. I was working with the now. Everybody loves stickers.
You can use them for so many things.
So, this means that doesn't charge. We send it, we have something online, and something now, we get with one file, which is. So every happens in your computer, you want to put it online for your application. Everything you want from online, then you have to put it on comment.
By some fields you can create.
Absolutely, that's something. You are first to tell something.
I think what did I use? I created.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So you have to take everything. Yeah.
I'd like to be able to get out whatever.
It's something new.
Yeah.
You know, like, when it was empty. I was not able to push, and it was
But then they might.
when you wrote that, something in there, what is about how to perform.
Like, nice, but yeah, gold, I don't know, he himself.
Now.
It's like, now, if I'm sleeping and every.
But you think it's on.
No, I need to do Java. I was thinking that is vacation. I can give.
Yes.
Was there none? Oh, yeah. You look worth a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Go crazy. Yeah, that's one. Where's there, but. They're very good. I don't even have fun like that.
Yeah. Actually, sometimes we need to.
Well,
To hear it, the idea and how to understand.
the way it was, or the way we explain.
This is what you can do. This is the how you handle it from Visual Studio. Know what it means to state something. Then you can use it to UI and more comfortable. If you have no idea.
How did you want more experience? It's really cool. Oh, yeah, but it's.
I mean, they're and that's not feeling other
That's something they call problem solving. Which is so you have besides the problem in the past and make steps to that's that's no, not you can't. I mean, that's better.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't like to get tutorial job with content. We need some practice.
Exactly.
Watching.
Can I do this? Can I just say that I still think you guys?
Because I only have seniors and like this one or two or something.
At least you have.
That you don't find this, if you listen to me, like, it's like,
But it's one of those things People are talking about it, people are. Thursday.
I think it's. They give you an end with that situation.
So this is the youth option. And this is now when you have when you break and have a you are now. That's cool.
And you want to create that the whole time is it on the top, that the not the whole bit of it. And then you say.
I don't want that.
You say, get inaccessible.
My parents said.
Now you have to get to the regulation, that's the most, this multiplication of the time.
So this is my copy.
Yeah, it was yours. I didn't even know you understand it.
Create
So I-
copy ending.
Yeah.
And then you dispute something, get you also stuff, that's.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah,
You mean-
stuff like that.
Yes, can you use your driver? Is it
Step by
right?
step, you push origin.
Yeah, it's right.
This URL. You provide the URL and this, which is the same URL moving behind.
But that's yours.
And then this is how you make your location also if you want more. But if the root to define already exists. Your picture, I just. I do this one. This is, good to see you have a big philosophy for. And you have inside it, the philosophy that gives us more understand what the hell is this. You did not know what's this, you know, simply you do ls inside of the system and you're actually you see this something folder. This is the hidden folder that you haven't seen when you open the Explorer, you can only see inside batch or command line when you do this command exactly. Like if I did ls,
So
you can
maybe
see
you
like
just.
there are two directories. You have to do ls dash a, which means everything in order for it to appear.
I wonder if this guy, the AI.
Now, this tool is taking in
Maybe.
information about this URL.
I didn't think that.
I tried the,
And when I do AI, I need to link this information by referring this remote.
I've not done anything, but I have used.
Not this is the time.
so.
Maybe I don't want to be here when they do it. Yeah, they're like some random, you know, AI website. I just enjoy the really bad times. that it generates.
The same URL that.
Yeah.
But I just heard like a friend who was saying, oh, that's together. Illustrator. And he was like seriously considering like his career. And one in Illustrator because now things can be generated and even 5 years at a time. Like, who knows if you need somebody who is making.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Many because I needed the illustration, give me a beer in the foreground.
I still think that nobody can make it better than people.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
So now you're inside the.
Yes, but I.
No, but that's also my
I
point.
think always find this right, also like the people that commission it, they're.
Because they don't really trust it.
That's the thing. I mean, if you think about corporate, you think about cost cutting, if
We go.
You can already trust machines, to be
Now,
honest.
we are in this scale, we are.
If you don't do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like probably what will happen is with the AI. It won't be.
One still has to be a designer or some kind of background to.
Yeah, maybe use AI to as a start point and then add on top of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Just save you.
yeah, it's been like. But it's kind of scary, though, like, the thing, you know, it's the diverse photo in office. It's that pops out relatively. Okay.
People.
Yeah, it's.
Cray cray.
Cray cray.
Cray cray. Like. I think it's like COVID. Although when I had it in July, I could it was into like September, October, I would say, like we were like tired and it was like sad. So if you got COVID and then got over it and maybe got another kind of going. Oh, figure, yes. Which one do you want?
Yeah, I was like. And I got it like 3 weeks before. Then I got it like, I would say. That's why. I had like every. Yeah.
More. Enjoy. Spread the word about the future. On your door, maybe on your wherever. Yes, on your coat.
I love some like.
Yes.
And they're quite belly, like, and like I didn't realize it was on, and I like, well, you used it, and then I was like, so it just not cool.
But it is great.
And if it's like months. I was like,
I realized how much I said that they don't matter, but we lose one.
yeah.
One.
That's horrible. So I'll be back. Yes.
Yes, or you can write stick and then put it down. And then the trash bag is more right. I can't figure out how to make this not like the trash bags they have here, and instead the trash can. It's a whole thing.
Like, Thomas. You need to do one thing, then you have to do another thing, another thing, and everything.
And it leads to math, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are back from lunch, I guess. I hope you still remember what we talked about before lunch. I hope. So we've already went through map and for each methods. And now there are only two left, filter and sort. Let's start with filter. Filter also creates a new array filled with elements that pass a task provided by function inside of the method. Sounds complicated, but it's not. Let's see how it works. So we take the cars array again, same array, different method. And let's say we want to only filter those cars that have speed over 60. Yes. Yeah, yes. So let's create a variable that is going to store a result of this method. It's const fast cars, not really fast to be honest. So equals cars filter. And here inside of it, you're gonna we have quite a massive function that looks massive and complex, but it's actually not. So here we have an if statement. So if a car has speed over 60, then return true. Otherwise, return false. And in our result array, we are only going to have those that are true. So those that pass the test. Let's see the console. Yep, so it's only 2 of the cars that pass the test provided inside of this method. Does it make sense? So if we check like, okay, it's 87 and 78, which is more than 60, so it's all fine. It looks kind of like complex and like big, as I said. Usually you wouldn't see like this way of writing a function. So usually we would see something like this, and that's something we are going to cover later today. But just so you know, you really see this way of writing this function.
So, but why we need the second statement? If we are just need, if we need the car just to speed over 16. So why is, so we can reach just one statement now?
Yeah, basically, yes, nothing's gonna change.
True and false, or
Yeah, it's just for you to understand that those that are false are not gonna go
if it's
inside.
false,
So it's just left aside. So it's not gonna be in the new array.
Have you ever heard of like the terms falsy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually think that whenever you return something that's falsy, it's not going to include it in the array. So by default, functions in JavaScript return undefined. So if you don't return anything, they just return undefined. So that would be falsy. So if you remove the else if thing, it should still work, because then you will never get into this branch where it says return true.
Yeah.
And then it will just return undefined. Let me say now every other case.
Yeah. And so here is just a more compact way. I guess you would probably use this format.
But sometimes it's also good to be more specific.
Yes.
Like if you want people to really understand your code, right?
Yeah. So we we made this true and false just to show you how it works exactly. But yeah, you don't have to like write it. Make sense? Okay. So the last one before we go to exercises, that's sort. Well, it sorts the elements of the array. And let's see an example here as well. Same array, cars. Now let's say we want to sort them in ascending order. Ascending means from least to most, and descending is from most to least. What we have here might be a bit weird, but yeah, we have function inside of it with a and b as a parameters, and this expression over here basically means that we need like smallest value go first, then more, and then the most. Make sense? Yes, no. Usually, if I'm not sure how to sort, like what function to put here, I Google it. Because sometimes sometimes you forget these things. And let's look at the console wake up. So yeah, you have Volvo, then Fiat, and then BMW. What? Speed, yeah. But it's it is also able to sort like letters.
So I think the way the sort function works is very generic, so that's why it's very complicated to remember or
Yeah.
difficult to remember. So A is supposed to be the last item and B is the current item. If you want to compare, like you go through the array and you compare Volvo and BMW. So A is Volvo and then B is BMW.
Yeah.
And then sort takes into account the number that you return from the function.
No, it's like for each.
Is it if it's negative or if it's positive?
It loops over all the items, and then when the number is positive, it puts it after the element
Yes.
or before. I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the
If it's ascending order, so it's only like first it's gonna be negative and then positive. Like I'm not sure. I'm really
I mean,
not
we
sure.
can maybe assume from this case. So
Yeah.
So if
It was
B
40.
is bigger than A,
Yeah.
we're gonna get a negative number, right?
Yes. 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 So we take, for example, Volvo minus BMW. That's something with negative result. So it is like less. Then we take it's gonna be Fiat and BMW. That's also negative. So this way we get Volvo, Fiat, and then BMW.
So I actually think that I'm not actually sure if this implementation would work for all numbers. Let's say your car had a negative speed or something like that, you could run into issues where it doesn't sort
Yeah,
it correctly.
exactly. Maybe.
So you can also write a different logic in this function where you just have to make sure to return a positive number in one case, a negative number in the other case, and you can also return 0 if both of them are the same.
Yeah. Another question is, how would we make a descending order? Yes, let's try it. Did it save? Oh. No, I'm not touching anything really. Yep. So now we have BMW first, then Fiat, and then Volvo.
No, there's.
Someone.
A and B, like, what does it stand for if you have like 5 things in an array? A is the first thing, B is the second thing, what are the others? Should we add like C, D, E, or?
No, it's just because it loops through array. So first, like, it goes like Volvo A and then BMW B, and then it like goes further BMW A and then Fiat is B.
So you
So it's like-
compare each
Yes.
item with the next one.
So you don't need to define any C, D and others.
And if we convert B minus A now, it goes from.
The other
end,
way.
Like from the end, starts from the end, right? Like.
Right.
It's-
If you
BMW.
add console log and then you log like the make and the speed.
Changes. Instead of negative.
Do you want console log inside?
Yeah, so we can see what's happening.
Console log. Reset really. It's torture. Okay. 42.
So why is the first one 42?
42 because it first takes BMW and then Volvo. So
But
A is still the first one,
yes.
and B is the second one. So it takes BMW minus Volvo, and then it goes. Then it's gonna be Volvo and Fiat, and then it's gonna be Fiat and BMW. So it just starts the other way.
I think it's a short way of writing.
There is actually, yes.
You have that example?
If you Google sorting gives, or if you go to MDN documentation for sorting, it gives you this. So basically, yeah, it returns zero, either zero, positive or negative. Yes.
Maybe I should align this, right? So now we're sorting from biggest to smallest. And if I change those, we're sorting from smallest to biggest.
Yeah.
And doing this is like a shortcut of doing this, because mathematically it's sort of the same, right?
Yeah.
It returns a negative value when A speed is smaller than B speed. It returns a positive value when A speed is bigger than B speed, and it returns 0 if they're the same.
But
Because
it's
we're
okay not to
subtracting them.
remember it.
I think the important thing to remember is that
How
there
you
is
actually like what method you need to like sort things, and then you can actually.
yeah. So I would always opt for writing more code, but have it be more readable
Yeah.
than writing this and feel very smart about it, right?
Is it clear? Yes, there. Okay. You guys look confused. So we're gonna get to exercises. There is a code pen. There is a code pen in Notion. Wait a minute. Yes. Without, yeah, that's without answers. So here you have an array of mentors. And there are 4. It's not me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me who made it up. So yeah, we have our amazing mentors here, and here are 4 tasks you need to complete. First is console log every mentor's info. Second one is filter mentors, those mentors that are database heroes. So those who have databases somewhere in the info. Then sort mentors by their experience from the most experienced one to a newbie. And then make an array of mentors' names and make them uppercase. If you don't know how to make uppercase, Google it. Good luck. How long is it?
We can check in after 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the same. I think it's going to remain the original order.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. Look this up every time. Sorting.
Yes, I never remember those, like sorting and kind of.
Then you built on it.
Why is the element name low?
Oh, yeah, no, all
It's an artist name.
all athletes, they prefer if their game is super. They want to be different. He's a board member.
I know.
It also kind of,
Have you ever read it?
no,
He has the boat. He's going on the boat trip. We don't have a boat.
That's like a movie.
anybody know someone that, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know some.
Everyone that.
Always like. Say, giving, saying. Try to.
I couldn't get through this. Yeah, it's just smaller, but else, yeah, but I don't have.
Especially on like.
Yeah, depends on
It was like my dream, and then when I actually did it, I was like, no.
It's so organized. Space.
Just go finish the design. It's been a while since it was.
Look at that.
Are the students using it pretty well?
Eventually, yes, we do. Yes, I don't want to say.
Yeah. I just mentioned it. On the homework reviews, like every time. On the years.
Makes so much easier.
Yeah.
And it's really good when I just most of them. Free charge, it's everything online, beautiful, this is so everything is.
They should really start. Well, maybe we're just very like, some people are just really good at seeing these indentations, especially that's fine. But if I notice, one more that.
But it's really.
Only thing that makes like the rain.
And it's really nice like, to start, not to start you on the rest, like, because from the very beginning, because otherwise, then you come to some projects, work this, it's really. Yeah. I'm saying it because I Jenkins. Summer Collins.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is.
Thank God.
That would be interesting because the budget is.
Sometimes it's rules.
Because I was like, this is price, like,
Yeah. It wasn't blocked.
We don't need to mention much. A lot of responsibility that they get. You get the privileges.
It's also
Looking through things in more detail. And otherwise,
and I also have I also have fun with my just out in
yeah, sometimes it's just like that. You have to say, I don't know. Some things in you, and there's some ghost in you.
set up intelligent. I was smart at the second, just installed everything. And
I also started to Windows. And I have invested a lot of time to debug all these Windows.
we don't have any Windows machines. It's not, we only have Windows in that. But as far as I can say, developers, they mostly use. It's usually some products. Support channel things.
No, I mean.
Usually, my stance is that you should use whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah, I was actually suggesting, so I would actually choose between those two.
Okay, but you can choose.
I won't choose Windows.
No, what I mean.
No, it was on the list. So it's either Linux or
Yeah. I mean, I always find not charge this. Maybe you're just very efficient with Windows.
I just think, like, I had this really job, but like. I just felt like the Mac would be nicer to use, but like, in the end, I was.
Yeah. What did you develop some weird issues sometimes and they can be much worse and
Yeah, I used to use it. Again, just to the next. You guys need to look. It's like my relationship is now. You can see, you can feel
The thing is, there's some things that I sometimes use in the next steps and they just miss something. There we have, that's right. Bottom mouse and mouse, and the prism mouse and how the
Yeah.
windows are arranged and stuff like that. So they're tricky. And
Yeah.
it's like-
I had like we went to my business and that was the one. It was like. It was like hey, but it was like this. Like the one as well, and like the fan is like crazy.
Yeah, but that's probably more hard.
Yeah, it was like that. I was just so happy about that. In 2010, so like, it was so nice.
How's it going, guys?
Done it.
Okay.
Thumbs down or thumbs up? In the middle? Down, okay. You need help? That's kind of the new thing. This year, we're in new version of the handies and for each of I think it would be nothing as if skip two was required to do this. Well, it wasn't that, but, it's not required to. It's not required. So it should be possible to go.
It doesn't, yeah, it would, it's like it doesn't out before we have. You just thought that's. So I think. Now I have to set up, and try this new group session. Yeah. Yeah, fine. Yeah. And all you should know is that so they chat around, but it's over here, and then where's that? It's going to be full for every mentor in the relationship. So whatever all the tests will make them function, it will provide the current so. That you bought info. So you have some options. And you define this function. It should do something very well. And it has one problem, so whenever form is false, every populate is used the learning that's being I don't know, it's but we start this day. No, it makes sense. I mean, I can see why it's compared to the phones.
Она не выбрала только.
Change.
Я не или не надо. Можно нажать. Ну, просто потенциально.
No, it's for. So I have.
Yeah. Read the.
I don't know if I.
So that's probably the most convenient way That is not true. So now you have to find that position. So Not so much because it can arise, it's really not.
Надо было тоже. Я говорю, не надо. Я вот просто
Guys, how's it going? Ready?
What would we do?
Then you have.
How's it going? Who's finished?
There's also another thing that you can do is called Now remember that from the observation, now I Well, this return statement is not really something that you can do. The base is obedience. Yeah, but that's another subject. Okay.
And then you will also.
How do you get to assign this variable? The return value of the function has two have this that you now you working within the whole application. So now you can see that one way includes yeah.
That's, yeah.
Functions and the whole.
Okay, let's. Do you have this,
Do you want to go through the answers?
Or you can do it. Do you want to go through the answers?
Whatever you. So you send it.
Yes, I send it to you. DM.
Maybe you didn't.
Let's pick it up. Yeah, here.
Oh, okay.
Task
this
force
one.
answers, yes. These are error functions, but.
Should I mention this before?
Yeah.
What error functions are? Okay, everyone, let's get through the very last steps of today's session.
And then we are going to discuss that answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's one more topic that I'm going to cover before we go into the explanation of this exercise. And it's not, it looks like a lot here, but it's actually not. It's just something about the syntax of writing functions, so that you know, and that you are not surprised when you see this syntax. So this is how you know how you usually define functions in JavaScript, right? You write function and then the regular brackets and then the curly brackets. But you can also do it in a different way. You can use a simplified version. And that's something that is being done a lot with these like map, filter, for each, because it makes it a lot shorter to write them. So I took this example from MDN. And let me just remove this so it's not as confusing. So this is a function that you know, right? You define a function, you have an attribute, you do something with this attribute, and then you return it. And the same thing you can write like this, you can write like this, and you can even go all the way without brackets and do it like that. So there's no difference whatsoever between these 4 different ways of writing a function.
Basically, you just show the parameter that you're using, then you put the arrow, so the arrow, and then you write the inside.
Yes, so these 3 last versions they are called arrow functions because, as you said, they have this arrow here. So you don't write the function keyword with arrow functions. You start with the parameters that you want to pass in. So in this case, it's A, and here's also A. And
there is no, it's just empty. Like,
yeah, you could also do this, right? So that would be the same as function. As you can see, it's a bit shorter. It's a bit more concise. It has some other advantages, but they are not really relevant for you at your current stage of JavaScript. Some advanced features that we might not even get to. So mostly you can use them however you want. Like there's no recommendation of using this one syntax over the other. Use whatever you're comfortable with, and if you're comfortable with using the function syntax, you can use that. But if you see these kind of things, these kind of constructs, then remember that it's just a plain function. There's no additional magic. So maybe I should explain those 2 last ones that are very compact. One thing that you can do with arrow functions is you can omit the curly braces and the return statement. So if you're only returning something from your function, you can just immediately write that after the arrow. And JavaScript will know that this is the same as returning it, right? And then if you only have one attribute of your function, you can also remove the brackets. So this wouldn't work if you had to. Then you would need to add the brackets. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so here's some more material on this. If you want to read more about it, you can check that later. And the reason why I explained this is that in your solution, there are some arrow functions. So
yes.
you wanna keep sitting there? Or?
You can talk.
Okay. So can you tell us more about the solution?
Yes, so the first one, you need to console log every mentor's info. For this one, you can just use for each because you don't need any like arrays and nothing. You just use mentors dot for each. We take mentor and then we just console log mentor.
It was like also load windows.
Yeah. For the different.
So you did this?
You just console log the whole array.
Yeah.
Oh, you can console log as the whole array, but if you want it separately, so then you use for each. Yeah.
So what we're seeing here is that 6 times we console log the whole array, right? But what you wanted to do is you want to console log each mentor separately. So that would look like this. So you would have each object separately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is what you want to, otherwise you're not really utilizing the fact that for each passes one single mentor to your function for each mentor in the array, right?
So the second one, you have to filter those mentors. So the database here is, here I created a const to store like the new array that the filter function produces. So we filter through mentors. We take one mentor, and for each mentor, we go into his or her subjects and check if it includes database. If it does, as we talked earlier today, it passes the test. So it actually includes database, so it's true. And this mentor's info goes to the new array.
So this is going to give us this array,
Yeah.
right? Just two mentors having database experience. And remember that this is the same as writing like this, right? So if you have this, you're also correct. Who used the includes function? Couple. You don't have to tell now. Okay. So there are also other more complicated ways to filter for database. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Did you get the same result?
Yeah, you can use math, but you just have something a bit different like inside. But yeah. Like inside of a function, you have something a bit different. Maybe no. But did you get the same result?
Because my console is like using my screen, so it's so hard to.
You can expand.
No, I can't.
It cannot?
Like, I
Well, if you
expand-
change the layout of CodePad, so then it lets you. There is a button for changing layout.
I mean, now it's.
But if I press here, you can just check. This one, so you have the console.
What did you get with this?
That's Ahmed and Daniel.
What was the question? How we got to
Filter and not only map.
well,
Because we only need certain mentors.
So you could use map instead to search only the ones that have the word database. No?
okay, let's try what happens
Let's
if we
try,
do
yeah.
that.
I'll create a new array.
So what you want to do is, if this is true, then we return mentor, right? See what we get. So now we get an array of 6 different ones, but some of them are undefined. Right, so whenever we didn't return anything here, map put an undefined in our array. But if we use filter, we're only going to get 2. Because whenever we return something false from the filter, it will just not put it in the array, right?
It's not gonna be included in this array.
And map doesn't really care about that. Do you mean? Like, you mean like this? Then I get this array. You can ignore the rest. This is the result.
Without the if mentor.
It was on the return mentors dot database.
Like this.
And what did it give you? Return mentors dot database, so without all the subject.
Like this. How did you, I mean, this is what I understood that.
Yeah.
So mentors is our array, right? So there's no property databases on the array.
Subjects, maybe.
So you did this, mentor.subjects. Then you get a list of all the subjects. Make sense? Okay. Maybe let's look at it specifically then. That makes sense. But we have to wrap up this session now. I'm sorry. So I don't know how many have made it to the sort and uppercase exercises. Okay.
Can we get the like registry?
Yeah, sure. All right. I think we're gonna just wrap it up here. I hope that you learned a lot today about arrays and these filter functions. Don't worry if you haven't grasped it fully yet. You still have some time to figure it out and try it a bit, and then you get more familiar with the concepts. Remember, there's a homework for next time. We also link to it in the Notion page. And if you're behind on homeworks and you need help, please let mentors know in the channel, in the correct channels. We are very happy to help you get on track with your homework. It's very important for you to follow along. Right?
Yeah, can you take into the homework?
Yeah, I haven't read it myself, so that's why I didn't go so far. But you can see there's some warm-up exercise, a movie exercise, so that sounds exciting, actually.
So you could practice this array methods.
Did you do this already?
Yes.
It's with the event, right?
It's exactly the same.
There's nothing about events because that was part of the previous class, actually.
Everything, I guess. If you scroll down, you have this HYFA or something. Yes, so you have
Okay.
the input.
Cool. That's nice.
So you actually get practice.
So yeah, it looks like a lot, but I think that it's very similar to the exercise that we did today. So if you still have a fresh memory of this and you do this homework, it should be fine. And if not, don't hesitate to reach out. So yeah, I don't want to drag the time, so that's why I'm kind of wrapping up now.
And we start the recording as well. Yes, we have to remember